Yes, I would like to make a presentation on the book I have written over the last 2 weeks. Yes, if it could work. Yes, presentation. The title of the book is Stone Cold, and the author is Robert Swindells, and the publication year is 1993. And I would like to start with a brief summary of this book. First of all, this book is kind of special as we have 2 stories in one. One is about Link and the other is about Shelter. Link is a homeless kid, come in on that later, and Shelter is an army guy who wants to kill all the homeless kids, and that is his mission. Link ends up on the street because he didn't like his home, because his stepdad Vince was kind of inappropriate at home. He did not like that, so he actually ended up being homeless in Yorkshire and then later in London. In London he meets a kid named Ginger, which he befriends. But the unfortunate part is that Ginger is actually killed by Shelter, and then Link tries to find out what happened, but he does not know until the late part where he actually have gotten a girlfriend named Gail. They kind of investigate together and find out that Shelter is taking all the kids and killing them. Then we have the big showdown at the end, which the entire story has been foreshadowing that these 2 stories are going to collide together. So we have this big showdown at the end where Shelter is taken by the police and Link is left alone. The composition. Yes, first of all we start with a flashback where Link is telling why he fled from home, how he didn't like Vince and how he was acting, and the story begins after the quote, "Hang about and I'll tell you a story about my fascinating life." After this, the story splits into 2, where we have Link and Shelter's story. The book is built up on the Hollywood model, or berettermodellen. I think, we have, you can see my cursor here. I'm using 2 screens right now, so that's why. We have the teaser here, which is obviously the flashback where he tells about his life, why he became a homeless kid. Then the elaboration, where Link moves to London. He becomes friends with Ginger, and he learns to be a proper street kid. Then the point of no return is when Shelter meets the 2 kids, Link and Ginger. After this moment, he then kind of chases them down, stalking them, wants to know every move so he can get an advantage, and then in the end kill them, which he succeeds. He obviously kills Ginger, which I told in the summary. The conflict escalation is when Lynx find out that Shelter is taking the kids, and the climax is obviously the big fight at the end, where Shelter is taken by the police. And then the resolution, I wouldn't say there is a proper resolution, as the book has an open ending, where Link is standing alone, and he says, "It's a free country, right?" It's on page 132. So we have an open ending. No closure. The narrator of the story is a first-person narrator. The use of I makes this very, very clear. But the story is very special because we obviously have these 2 main characters, 2 eyes. And this should make, in many stories when we hear about the antagonist, how he's acting and stuff like that, should maybe make the story a bit dull. But in this situation, it actually gives the story a bit of suspense, as we know that Shelter is chasing the kids, and we have this big suspense moment where Shelter is meeting Link and Ginger. On page 51, he says this: "I was on my way to inspect Treatland when 2 doses approaches me." So after this moment, we know as the reader that Shelter is chasing them. He's stalking them. On page 75, he's still stalking them. So he says this: "So I'm going to watch the laughing boys, and when they separate, we'll see who last laugh." So it gives the story suspense because we know that Link and Ginger should flee or go to the police, but we know more than them, and so yeah, it gives the story some suspense because we know that they should be more scared. Then the language in the story, the narrator Link used colloquial language because he's obviously, first of all, he's a teenager, and he didn't come from a very good environment, which is why his vocabulary is limited. On page 53, we see this, where he says, "Why didn't you call the ambulance, you stupid git?" I do not know what it means, but I guess it's something it's kind of slang, which is not very formal and something you would write. The other narrator, Shelter, his language is more formal than Link, which makes sense as he is 47 years old. 2 seconds. Yeah, setting. When is this story taking place? On the first pages, we hear that Link is born in 1977, and when the main story is taking place, he's about 15 years old, which means that the story takes place about 1992, 1993. But we do not get a real date on when it's taking place. The story obviously takes place in the streets of London, and the atmosphere here is very dull, dark, cold, and scary. Cold because the kids on the streets are always looking for something warm, a good night's sleep. The atmosphere is scary because the kids 24/7 has to listen if there is coming any people, which mean they are not going to get a proper sleep. Link also says this in page 56. After a week in London, Link Oh, I misunderstand. Yeah. On page 56, he says this that he is not getting a proper sleep because he has to listen if anybody is coming to harass him. Yes. Then the characters. We have Link, which is a round, dynamic person as he's evolving throughout the story. First, he is this little kid, scared kid, who needs Ginger all the time. He acts like he does not need him, but on page 79, he says, "I pretended. I didn't give a toss. I did, though." This makes it clear that Ginger does not like being alone, and he really likes when someone is around him and keeping him company, which is why he's really happy when he meets Gale after Ginger has been killed. So he have this new person to talk to, so he can be more safe on the streets. I would also like to say that Link, we hear in the first page that it's not his real name, and because he's not using his real name, could be because that the reason why he moved to London was because he got recognized in the streets of Yorkshire, and he really didn't like that. So when he moved to London, he changed his name to Link, so no one really know who he really was. Kind of combined, they find the reasoning why he didn't. That could be the reason why he does not use his real name, and we see that in. You can call me Link, it's not my name, but it's what I will say to anybody who asks. So, yeah, he does not like to use his real name. Could be because he does not like to be recognized. Then we have Shelter, which is this army guy. He does not evolve throughout the story. He's a flat and static person. He kills all these kids because he thinks that they does not deserve to live. They are not serving the country. And a weird thing is when he kills all the kids, he says that they are part of the army. They now have a bigger purpose. I think that he is calling them that they are becoming part of the army because that removes some of the guilt. Because on page 28 he says that soldiers in uniform don't have this problem when they die. So it's kind of removing some of the guilt, because if they are part of the army, it's okay if they die. If that makes any sense. Then we have the conflict in the story. 2 seconds. Okay, I'm running out of time. Yeah, the conflict. Link has this big fear about being rejected. He didn't get proper love at home. I thought actually in the start that he got love from his mom, but later in the story we actually know, Link kind of explains he didn't give enough love at home, or on page 105 he says that I wish someone would come look for me like that. That is when a man is asking about his daughter who has become a homeless kid. So he wants to be loved, but he get rejected all the time. So he's kind of working with this rejection throughout the story. We have this big moment when Ginger is killed. He then spirals down in kind of a depression, because he says that I don't need anybody, I want to be alone now, and stuff like that. And then it's kind of funny that Gale then comes moments later and pulls him out of this rejection, pulls him out of this depression. He's pulled out. So throughout the story, he's working with this rejection, and we don't know if he gets fully over it, because in the end he is then left alone, and he says that I can't stay in London because there are too many ghosts. But we do not know if he is ready to move on and is being okay being rejected, because in the end he is actually also being rejected by his girlfriend Gale, because she didn't really love him, as she was a reporter reporting on the homeless kid in London. Then the story's ending. Oh, I have to cut now. I will make a second part.